Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Sharing My Life. And today I want to share with you all how I got my relationship back with my older son, Daniel. So from 2006 to 2010, 11 really, were the most challenging years for me in my life. That was when my marriage started to rumble and finally break down, and I went through a divorce. And there were also those formative years, very formative years for a young teenager. So my son Daniel was around 13 to 18 at that same time. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there enough for him as I would have liked to, because I had so much other stuff going on in my life. I also had a young child. My youngest boy there's a 9-year gap between Daniel and Damien. So he was about 3 or 4. And so my attention was more on him and our business and all this fighting and arguing that was going on in our marriage. And so I wasn't able to be there enough for Daniel, my older boy. Anyway, he would come home from school and he would go straight to skating, to a skate park. And in the absence of connection or enough support from parents, children moved to their peers. And he built very strong connections with his skating buddies, which was nothing wrong with that. That's what happened. And so finally, when my marriage broke down in about 2010, Daniel was 17, and I realized that I didn't have that much of a connection with him. And he started by 18. He had a job. He was going to college, to TAFE. He would go clubbing on weekends, and so he hardly was ever at home. And when he was at home, in the few minutes here and there, all my communication to him was basically, "Is your room tidy?" Actually, his room looked best when the door was shut. It was quite a piggy sty. But anyway, all my communication was, "Is your room clean? Have you done your chores?" And I realized that I didn't have that much that I could really sit and chat with Daniel, and there was something missing there, and I was yearning to have that connection back with this child that I had lost. He was now a man. And so one day in my desperation, I tried a few different things, but nothing was working. And so one day in my desperation, when he was sitting at the table having breakfast, he had made himself a good bacon and egg breakfast, and he's sitting there, and I went and sat next to him, and I said to him, "Daniel, I really want to have a better relationship with you. What do I need to do?" Hey, Nicola. Hello, Maya. And hello, Johnny. And I asked him just directly, "What do I need to do, son? I really would like to have a better relationship with you." And he says, "Mom, just be with me." And I'm looking at him. I'm thinking, how can I just be with you, Daniel? You're never here. You're either out skating or you go clubbing. You're either at uni or at work. And when you do come you're in and out of the house, you're here for like 10 minutes. How can I just be with you? And he puts his knife and fork down and he looks at me and he says, "Mom, are you ready for this?" He says, "Mom, I am here now. Just be with me." And there was like this pin drop silence, because I still wasn't sure what he was talking about. And so he went on to say, he says, "Mom, instead of always telling me what I should and shouldn't be doing and how I should be doing it better, if you really want to have a better relationship with me, just be with me." And then he said, "So how was your day yesterday, Mom? What have you got planned for today? Have you been dating anyone lately?" And I answered all those questions, and then I asked him back those exact same questions. And for the first time in a long time, we had a conversation, like a really beautiful conversation. 15 minutes later, my son gave me a kiss and he went off to college for that day. And that day, Daniel taught me how to just be with him, just be fully present with him instead of telling him what he should and shouldn't be doing. And that was my son, Daniel. Jean Houston, one of my favorite people in the world, actually, next to Marianne Williamson, said, she was the founder of the Human Potential Movement, and she said, to simply be fully there with another is to see greatness. And that day I got to see the greatness in my son, Daniel. This is so ironic, because I used to beat myself up and feel so guilty that I never was there for Daniel, and I was not such a good mother and all of this. And last week was his birthday. And on Saturday, it was his birthday on Tuesday, and on Saturday, I was sitting at home alone in the evening and watching this movie, The Karate Kid, And I was feeling a bit sad for some reason. And so I thought I'll watch Karate Kid. And so I was watching it. And in the movie, God, there's so many lovely people up here. Kathy, Mark, Alyssa, Deborah. Hey, Deb. Anyway, yeah, so he rings me. No, sorry. So I was watching Karate Kid, and the guy's name is Daniel San, the little boy. And he reminded me of my Daniel because that little boy was also a fan of bonsai. And Daniel's hobby is bonsai, is making bonsais. So I sent him a quick message on my phone. I said, hello, darling. Just wanted to say I love you. Next thing, I get a phone call from him because his picture comes up on my phone. And so I pick up the phone. I thought it was him. And I say, hey, darling, how are you? And he says, and at the other end of the phone is his friend, Jack. He says, hey, Mrs. Vincent, this is not Daniel, this is Jack. I said, hey, Jack. And he says, you know what? We're celebrating a big party for Daniel here, and all his friends are here. And we've just phoned to tell you that you have the most awesome son. He's the most beautiful, loving, kind, generous, and helpful friend that we could ever have. And we're just phoning to say thank you. Like, it was unreal, surreal for me. And one by one, 6 of his other friends came on the phone and said that to me. Thank you. He's such a beautiful kid. And yeah, made my day, made my life for the next of my life. And any guilt that I've ever had with Daniel kind of vanished. You know, it was just beautiful. So that's my share for today. My son taught me how to just be with him. Pretty simple stuff. And all of you, I'm sure many of you already do that, but I didn't. And I got my son back. So we go for breakfast catch-ups now quite often. And we have the most awesome catch-ups. And if I do ever try to give him advice, he tells me off. So I don't think as parents we ever stop giving advice. But that's how I got my relationship back with Daniel. So thank you for being here. And I'll see you next week. I'm not quite sure what I want to share next week, but I'll put up a little post on Facebook. See you later. Bye-bye.